Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe. I, as always, am your host, Joe, and with me, also as always, is my wonderful, festive, and holiday-ready co-host, Joe.
Oh boy. Oh man, nothing like a fresh cappuccino on Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. I was hoping it would be eggnog and it would be like very festive-y themed, but
Not
honestly, that's not keeping in your character.
Not a nog man. I've never been a nog man much in my life.
A nog man. That sounds like it'd be like a villain of some kind. Like
It's a character from Fairly Odd Parents. Look it up. It's quite interesting.
Is it really?
Yeah, Timmy's dad plays him, and then he makes Timmy Nog Boy. Nog man. It's a whole thing.
God.
I'm gonna have to send you a clip.
That is very funny. But we are not here to talk about Nog Man or Boy or Man Boy. So what we are here to talk about today is Batman. As always, it seems ever more like the comics that we care about talking about. They're always Batman themed, Joe.
We read more. We really do. It's just that this has appeal. It's popular with the people.
It's popular, one could say. It's got that nice sex appeal, you know?
What?
No.
What?
Oh, wrong Batman comic. Shit. Fuck, hang on. Gotta find the... Oh, I found the right one. Okay, here we go. Hello, everyone. We're talking about White Knight and its sequel, Curse of the White Knight, today. This is the story brought to us by the wonderfully talented Sean Gordon Murphy. He's the writer and the artist on the book, and then the colorist Matt Hollingsworth, and then there's a letterer and editor on there, and I don't know their names off the top of my head. I'm very sorry. But Murphy and Hollingsworth, the main two guys, creative powerhouses on this book. And I gotta say, this is something very interesting, because people who were with us from all the way back in the radio show days, when this thing was actually live, and we had to worry about what we said curse word wise, remember I believe I was talking about Curse of the White Knight in some of those episodes, because it was still coming out at that time. And just a mere few days ago, the third book in the White Knight verse, I guess you'll call it, was announced. And Joe, what is, pray tell, that story going to be called?
Batman Beyond the White Knight. So it's a Batman Beyond story, and for all those who are fans of the Batman Beyond show, most people know that pretty much all the comic adaptations for that show, because it was a show first, have not been good, have really not been that good. So entrusting this to Sean Gordon Murphy, I have faith. The cover looks amazing, and I'm very hype. So I'm looking forward to this. And Joe, you don't have too much background with Batman Beyond, right?
No, I know. I mean, obviously, just as someone who's been in the comic world for a while, I know what it is. I know about Terry McGinnis, and I've seen... I believe the only thing Batman Beyond I've seen or read is the Batman Beyond movie, where, like, Joker comes back and there's a Robin, and there's another Robin, and it's weird. But that's all I'll say about that, because I'm sure that could be something we could go into later on. I don't want to spoil any of that sort of shit. But today we're talking about White Knight. And so again, I have a history with this book because I fucking loved it ever since it started coming out back in 2000 something or other. I don't remember exactly when the original series came out, but I was a big fan. I was an even bigger fan when the sequel series came around. I got both variant issues. I got like the standard cover, and then I got the character covers, and I spent so many months searching for the goddamn issue 7 cover of Harley Quinn, and I couldn't fucking find it until about like a year after the series concluded. My comic shop just happened to have it, and I was like, oh my god, finally. And I sleeved that son of a bitch in that comic book bag and board, and I was just like, it's completed. And I put it up on my shelf, and I've never touched them since.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's what the trades are for. We always read the trades. So then, kicking it off with the original White Knight. Joe, what did you think about this story?
It's unique, right? So the whole idea is Joker goes sane. Really, Jack Napier, who is Joker's true identity, at least in this universe. There's debate about all that stuff in the wider universe. But it's Jack Napier, and the whole story is that Jack Napier is able to turn the city of Gotham against Batman and kind of convince the whole city that Batman is the one causing problems in the city and that they should trust him to fix it. And on the face of this, even reading it, you're like, okay, it sounds kind of cool, but like that wouldn't work. But the big thing with this story is the more and more you read it, you're like, oh, fuck. This Jack guy makes sense. Like, I kind of agree with him. Like, it's nuts. Like, Murphy's writing, like, I knew his art was great based off seeing Joe's comics and kind of knowing what this looks like. Like, Joe would get them and he'd show them to me. I'm like, wow, this guy's great art. But the writing, holy shit, that's what really surprised me.
Yeah, it is some of my favorite comic art that I've ever seen. Murphy just has a way of like stylizing stuff to make it look cool. Even if you don't quite like his people, his cityscapes, like, oh my god. Joe, I'm going to recommend a book to you and to everyone listening right now. Tokyo Ghost. 2 volumes. That's it. I think it's like 10 issues total. It's an image book, and it is Murphy on the art, and I can't remember who wrote it. It's another big guy in the comic book industry, but it's like a post-apocalyptic, like Neo-Tokyo kind of a thing, and it looks incredible, and all of his city stuff in these Batman books looks incredible, and that's why I'm even more excited for Batman Beyond, where it's Neo-Gotham. I'm like, holy fuck, it's gonna be so cool! But Murphy has a really strong artistic style that lends itself very much to the cityscapes of Gotham, and especially the vehicles that Batman has at his expense. It's like the amount of Batmobiles in this goddamn book, across both these books, it's incredible. The different kinds that he has in there. Obviously, many references to other types of Batmobiles.
Nothing beats when he goes, there's only one left, and he's like, this is my favorite one anyways.
Yeah, and it's was it the 89 one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Sometimes I get them a little confused because I'm not the most.
It's the one with the super long front.
It's either the 89 or it's the animated series one. I don't remember, because I think they have a moment in each story where they kind of appear. I think the one in Curse of the White Knight is the 89 one, because he gets in it and he has the "Let's get nuts" line, which is the thing from 89. So I think the first one is the animated series. The second thing in the sequel is fucking 89. But yes, art is incredible. The story is surprisingly, like, I have to say solid. I'd more so want to say great. Like, it's really, really good. And even if like all like the political mumbo jumbo doesn't actually add up, it's at least straightforward enough and entertaining enough that you don't really question it too much. You're like, most of what's happening makes sense, even if this isn't real, legal, whatever the fuck. It's like, I understand what's happening, what it's supposed to mean, and it just all gels so well.
Yeah, it definitely comes together really well as a nice cohesive story. And like I said, on paper it sounds interesting, but part of me had doubts. I'm like, I don't know, this is gonna get cringy or not be interesting, but it's very realistic, which comic books, sometimes you don't want realistic, sometimes you want kind of more fantasy, but this, it was great. I could totally see this happening. Like, I could see them making a movie out of this, and it totally being convincing. So yeah, this story is fantastic. Truly a unique take, and you get to see, surprisingly, Batman really isn't the main character in this. Like, I remember reading at least the original White Knight, thinking, wow, Batman doesn't really have too much dialogue in this. It's really a lot of Jack, a lot of the side characters. Harley gets a lot of screen time, and so does Duke and everything. So it's kind of cool to see Batman kind of take a back seat, but still have like a kind of a big role in what's going on in the story.
Yeah, he's got like his presence is felt throughout the entirety of the book, because obviously it's a Batman book, but it's like, it's more so everyone reacting to what Batman has become, where it's like you have the people like Jack Napier and Harley, and then Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon and Duke Thomas, and like all these like supporting characters normally are kind of like thrusted up more into the I don't know if the protagonist role is correct. That's really only Jack and Harley. but they're all thrusted more so up into the spotlight, and they're just like, hey, Batman is kind of going to be taking a backseat because he's the driving force that's going to be the cause of all of your changes going forward. Like, everyone has to react to Batman now because we're not focusing on Batman. And you get to see how everyone kind of changes and reacts to that. And it's very interesting to see, obviously, a Batman who is more violent and more desperate because he's losing everything left and right, from Alfred dying, and then, trying to push away his family, and then Joker coming up, becoming Jack Napier, and turning the entire city of Gotham on him. It's a very desperate Bruce Wayne,
Yeah, completely agree with that. And the characters, I mean, truly, like, really, again, this gets back to the writing, really good characters. Like, Harley Quinn, somebody who I have never really cared about that much. And anything I kind of have seen her in, she's kind of just been like, they do the whole like fan service type of thing, make her really attractive and be like, oh my goodness, she's just like this like sexy side character. That is not that in this story, or at least in this universe. I'm actually reading White Knight Presents Harley Quinn as we speak, so I really like her in this story, and she really takes a pivotal role and gets a lot of good, I don't want to say necessarily character development, but a lot of exposure, and you get to learn a lot about her, and she has, she's well developed, which I really like. And then Jack Napier is so cool to see the man behind the Joker, and it's so convincing too that like this could be somebody who is actually what the Joker's true identity is. And I love the kind of the split eyes with the eye color. I think it's called hyperchromia.
Yes.
Really, really cool. All these little details where I'm like, Sean Gordon Murphy put so much detail into not only the physical features of these characters, but also just they never do something out of character. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, I feel like in a comic, you can be like, wait a minute, that does not fit this person's character from the past 10 issues. All of his characters seem consistent. Their actions follow their characters, and it's just all of his characters are really thought out and, yeah, consistent, I think is the best way to say it.
Yeah, which, I mean, it definitely helps when you have one guy who is doing all of this sort of stuff, where it's like, Murphy is the guy, he's like, he came up with the idea, he wrote the scripts and dialogue, and then he made the art, and so it's very easy for him to be able to, like, keep all that sort of shit in line. He doesn't have to, like, pass it between, like, different writers, or a writer and an artist, and, like, all this other sort of stuff. Which, granted, plenty of people can still do that, no problem, but it's like, when it's all in one head, it's much easier to do that sort of stuff. But more so onto the topic of Harley Quinn, because you did say something where it was like, she doesn't really get, in like the normal universe, she doesn't really have that much of like a character arc, which is true, because in this story, she gets a very clear character upgrade, I will say, because most of the time she is normally what the first Harley we see in the story is. Oh, there are two Harleys in the story. Or as we come to know her, Marion Drew. And she's the horny, hot topic, crazed
Neo
like, psychopath. Yeah, exactly. She becomes Neo Joker. Like, that's what most people see when they see Harley Quinn. When in actuality, like, when she was created back in the animated series, she was much more in line with how Harleen is in this story. Like the actual Harley that we care about and are connected to. And so actually seeing her being like, yeah, I left you, Jack, because you were being the shit out of Jason Todd trying to figure out who Batman was, and I couldn't handle it. And then she gets Batman, brings him to that, and it's very interesting seeing where the line is for her and like what she does, like the consequences and the actions or the fallout of those consequences, where it's like she didn't just stay with Joker after that. It was like, no, you went too far. I left you. And then I've been on my own path trying to do my own thing. And as we come to find out, her own thing was like, how do I get Jack back? That sort of a thing. And so she ends up developing these pills. And then these pills end up getting kind of shoved down Jack's mouth by a very pissed off Batman. It's not a very good image.
It's intense.
But it's I remember reading that first issue and being like, oh, it's gonna be this kind of a Batman book.
Nothing beats the coat hanger reference in Curse of the White Knight, though.
Oh my god! I remember when I was reading that, and I showed you a picture. I was like, "You need to read this panel because holy shit!" We'll get to that though. But so Harley Quinn actually having agency, and in a flip of the script, being the White Knight of Gotham, because the entire time you're thinking, Batman's the Dark Knight, so obviously Joker's going to be the White Knight, and he says so. He's like, I'm going to be Gotham's White Knight in like the end of issue 1 or whatever. But then in reality, you're like, oh no, it's like they're both just big baby men, and Harley is really the only adult here trying to make Gotham better by pushing these two to be better. And so it's like, yeah, Harley's really fucking cool in this series.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Definitely, I'd say my favorite character. I wanted to ask, is there anything in the original White Knight that, you don't like? Because for me, I try and think about it, and there's not really too much there. Neo Joker, I kind of found annoying, but I think maybe she was written to be that way. But I can't think of too much where I'm like, ugh, why is this here? You know what I mean? Like, it all seemed to really fit well.
Yeah, I do think Neo Joker was like written to be annoying. I think she was more so though written as like she's literally just a fill-in, where it's like she's the obstacle that needs to be overcome for the characters we actually care about, where it's like you get a bit of a backstory for her, how she was like a self-harming individual and she worked at the bank and all that sort of stuff, and it's like it's fine enough, but like I kind of like, I don't know if this was you, but like when I brought her up as like the second Harley, you almost sounded like you had completely forgotten about her, because I'm going to tell you, I kind of did also forget about her when I reread this thing. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, there's a second Harley, because when you get to Curse of the White Knight, it's like she doesn't fucking appear.
Well, the only reason I remember is because, like I said, I'm reading White Knight Presents Harley Quinn, and she's in this, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot, like, you're alive and like actually in this. Yeah, I'd say she is the weakest point of the whole White Knight universe. It's not even bad. It's just like, if you had to pick something out to be like, this could have been a little better, you pick that. And for that being the only thing, that says a lot about the story.
Yeah, so like, she's not bad, she's fine. But there is one thing that I'm kind of like, I don't know about this. And that is the characterization of Dick Grayson. Now, White Knight, we're going to get into this a little bit. White Knight, obviously, it's its own separate universe. Everyone is a little bit different from the way you know them. But so the way that the Robins work generally, Dick Grayson is the first one, then he ages up and leaves Bruce because he's like too dark and broody and violent for him. And then he becomes Nightwing. And then Jason Todd comes in and then gets got by the Joker with a crowbar and an explosion. Everyone always thinks the Joker kills him with the crowbar. No, Joker just beats him and then leaves him, and then he blows up in the warehouse, and then he dies. And then Superboy punches reality, and he comes back to life, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, in this universe, Jason Todd was the first Robin. And I don't know what Jason Todd was like as Robin. I don't know if he was still like a broody asshole or whatever the fuck. But Dick Grayson kind of seems like the way more moody asshole. Granted, that is because Batman, again, is being increasingly violent and also an asshole. But Dick Grayson, like, never cracks a smile in, like, either of these two books. And it really bothers me. I'm like, this Dick Grayson is a fucking Debbie Downer. And while I'm also currently reading the Tom Taylor fucking Nightwing series, where he's just, like, the most wonderful, awesome person, I'm like, I kind of miss that guy, you know?
Yeah, Dick's got some daddy issues in the White Knight universe, and he definitely takes them out on Bruce, with good reason. You know, Bruce wasn't made to be a father,
No.
and he's just so angsty and angry. Like, I was thinking about it, I'm like, how old is Dick supposed to be in this story? I'm like, is he like 18 or like 17? Like, and then the more and more I go through it, I'm like, nah, this dude's in his 20s. I'm like, come on, but. Again, it's its own separate universe. If he wants to make him a little more edgy and stuff like that, okay. It works with the story. Like, it makes sense with him joining the GTO and stuff like that, and he kind of wants to take over Batman's role. Like, if that's the way you're going to write the character, fine, that's cool. But I do know what you're saying, where it is a little weird that isn't the normal portrayal of Dick Grayson.
Yeah. But again, other than that, everyone else is great. Barbara's great. Jim Gordon is great. Batman is great. Alfred, the only thing he does in this series is wake up from a coma and then put Bruce on his own life support. Totally great. And also the note that he writes from at the end, like that's the only words. Those are the only words you ever get from Alfred in this series. And the note at the end is such great. Like, Murphy gets Alfred, and he knows exactly what Alfred's last words would have been to Bruce. And they're just so beautiful, and I love them so much. So, like, again, every other characterization, fucking spot on. I love it. It's just Dick Grayson's that I'm like, it's like you inverted the names, but kept all the character traits. And, like, I don't know if you're gonna just, why flip him? Why? Just fucking keep it the same. But that's it. That's the only thing that I'm, like, iffy on.
Yeah. And so White Knight finishes with that letter. Joker goes into Arkham, and the Napier Initiative starts, and it kind of the story ends. And I want to know, Joe, when White Knight finished, were you expecting a sequel?
I wasn't. When it finished, I was like, that was a cool Elseworlds book. I would love to see. Like, I was like, I want to see this continue, but I didn't think that it ever would, because I was like, this seems like such a... I didn't know if it was popular or not. It seemed like lightning in a bottle sort of a thing. I was just like, I don't fucking know. Like, that was it. And then the day that I saw, because I think at this point I had gotten on Instagram and I was following Murphy. The day that I saw, because he's very notorious for
leaking.
Posting, yeah, he just posts panels that he's working on, and it's very clearly Batman, and he's just like working on a secret project, and I'm like, oh, there's no fucking way. and I'm looking at the shit, like, for the next like month or two. I'm just like, bro, when are you gonna announce it? When are you gonna do the thing? And the day that he announced Curse of the White Knight, and like I remember I think like one of the first images of it was like Azrael with the flaming sword. I think I came, like, on the spot. I was like, oh! Oh my god! And then, there is no end then. It was just, I came and I had to go clean myself up because I was probably in class because we were definitely still in school at that point.
Yeah, so I actually know this whole universe because of you, and when I read the first White Knight, already Curse of White Knight had finished up and everything. So I knew as soon as I finished it, I was like, okay, I'm like, I really like this universe. I want more. So going into Curse of the White Knight, I'm like, for me, I was like, sequels. I'm like, everybody knows sequels are hard to do. Like, it's hard to live up to the original. And this is Joe and I have been talking about this a lot. Like, I think Curse of the White Knight, if you had to separate the two, I like Curse of the White Knight more than the original. But I think that's only because all the work that the original puts in to kind of like building the world for Curse of the White Knight. And so Joe and I were talking about this, and really you can't view them as like two separate stories, or like it's just two chapters really of a bigger story. And Curse of the White Knight, man, I was like, it can't get better, can it? And it gets better.
It can't get better, can it? And Sean Murphy fucking kicks down the door and is like, bitch, but what about pirates? And you're like, oh shit, I'm in. Fuck it, let's go.
Pirates, Jesus Christ.
Because that's what it is. He's just like, hey, so we're gonna make this even more fucking swash. Like the first White Knight is very much like, it's superhero, but it's like superhero with shades of like political thriller kind of, and like some other stuff mixed in there. Curse of the White Knight, I agree with you. I think I like Curse of the White Knight better, but again, only because of all the fucking legwork and character work that the original did. Because this one doesn't do nearly as much character work with its cast of characters. Like, I don't think it does as much with Batman. I don't think it does as much with like Dick and Barbara, even though like they get some. Barbara especially gets a character beat in this. But it's like, even like Azrael, he's much more of like a one-note kind of villain when compared to like, I guess, Napier, even though Napier was technically like the protagonist of the original series. so it's like the character work isn't quite as good. Like I don't think you do as much with it. However, I think the actual like bombast and like the history telling and like the more mythic state of the story is so fucking cool. And again, it might just be because we have a soft spot for stuff like that. Like when this thing opens up and it's like, is it like 1580 something in Gotham?
Like
it's like it's hundreds of years in the past, and it's just like, yeah, you have Edmund Wayne, the first Wayne, and it's like, you know, it's being very as I smack my soundproofing in my professional setup, it's being very epic. Like it's an epic sort of storytelling where it's like the first Wayne to enter Gotham, that sort of a thing, and you're just like, oh, okay, so this is where it began. And then you have like the Order of Saint Dumas and also the crap that's kind of in there, and you're just like, this is just really cool. Like, first of all, you have Sean Murphy drawn motherfucking pirates and like ancient religious orders that use like swords and like have these awesome looking robes, and you're just like, oh my god, this is so cool. And so then it's like it gets to coast a little bit on some of the work that's done previously, but again, there's still some really awesome stuff. Like the main trio, I'd say, of this book with Batman, Joker / Napier, and Harley, I think are still really fucking solid. Batman is way more in the spotlight now, and Jack and Harley have pushed a little bit more to the back, but I'd still say their characterization is as solid as it gets across both of these books.
Agree with everything you said, and I'm just going to list off a bunch of things that I'm like, love about this.
Go for it.
History component, absolutely love it. Super interesting. I love how they're able to tie that into the story. Love that. Azrael's...
They check for the history nerds.
Azrael's kind of like quote-unquote origin in this. Done great. Love his character. And obviously he's drawn amazing. I think he is fucking phenomenal for a villain for this story. Batman, loved how he gets more kind of like that front seat in this story, and it's really a Batman story, not a Joker, not a Harley and Napier story. So really like how he's kind of taking action to it. And I like how there's a lot of detective components in this. It's not just Batman being like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. It's like he actually has to do detective work. Fuck yeah. So that's badass. I like how Napier isn't in here too much. Like, it's primarily Joker. We get a little bit of Napier coming back, but it's mostly Joker being in this. I like the idea of Harley becoming a mother and her being worried about that and having twins. The coat hanger line is...
Yes. Which, for those who are not in the know, Harley meets up with Joker because Batman is trying to bring out Napier to tell him something to get the fucking plot moving. And, when Harley appears, Joker's just like, ooh, a bump that big, there must be twins. And he's like, well, one of them's practically mine, but I'm going to need to abort Napier's. Hey, Batman, you wouldn't happen to have a coat hanger in that utility belt, would you? And I remember I fucking read that. And I was like, I need to send this to Joe immediately.
But my favorite part about all that is, like, before that, Batman's, like, about to jump over and strangle him, and then Harley's like, hold up, let me handle it. And then
because Joker insults her, and she's like, no, he's called me worse. Don't rise to his every jab. And then it's reversed.
and then she wants to kill him, and Batman's like, okay, settle down there. Like,
ooh, okay.
So fucking good. So that, fantastic. Harley is great in this again. We get a little bit of... it was in the first one, but especially in this, you get a little hint of maybe romance between her and Batman. It's that hard balance of, is he hinting at this, or is it just really good friendship? I think it's a little more.
I think it's more than hinting when she draws a heart in the rain on his palm on the glass at the very end.
The heart of friendship.
The heart of friendship, you might say. I value you so much as a friend that I just want to put my mouth on yours a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I think Batman was his eyes were getting a little too big when he saw that. Anyway, moving on. The death of Gordon, well done.
Oh my
intense.
God.
Barbara's reaction and everything about that. The whole I thought they were gonna do the whole breaking of her back and stuff like that with oh my goodness.
Azrael.
Yep. And kind of like an homage to almost like a mix of when Batman got his back broken and also when she got paralyzed from the shots in Killing
Killing
Joke.
Joke.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So kind of like a hybrid of those two. Really well done. Nightwing is literally the same person as he was in the first one.
Yeah, again, it's like he doesn't get like anything to do in these. They're just like Robin, Nightwing, whatever. Just sit on the sidelines for a bit.
Neo Joker, is Neo Joker show up at all in this one?
I don't think like, I'm trying to remember, and I don't think she ever fucking appears. I think there is a line, because when Azrael like breaks into Arkham to murder all of the other fucking villains, which that's a thing, by the way, now like the only villains by the end of this book, because I guess it's Azrael still alive, but Joker dies, all of the fucking, like the Killer Croc, your fucking Rocketeer, your Riddler, like all those guys, they're fucking dead. Azrael kills them all. Mad Hatter's still alive, because Mad Hatter helps Azrael break in to Arkham, and then Mad Hatter locates Marion Drews, and he's like, I'm off to go find her, and then Joker makes fun of him, and he's like, don't, fuck you, go goodbye, and he leaves. So we never see her, like, at all. She's just mentioned by Mad Hatter, and he's like, I'm off to go fuck my girlfriend, wee, and then he runs away.
Yeah, okay, again, so I think the right move for this story, kind of having her just kind of be mentioned. I'm trying to think. Okay, and then Montoya takes over as being in charge of the GCPD. I like the whole dynamic, especially mentioned in the first White Knight, of Batman, or Bruce at least, really considering, do I need to tell the world that I'm Batman? And he goes back and forth and back and forth. And the fact at the end of it, he does reveal it and goes to jail and all this stuff. You're like, holy shit, like this is kind of crazy. But one other thing that just this little thing that like I did not know this was in the story, and I don't know why I loved it so much, but it really made me smile. Was fucking Jason Blood being the priest and seeing Endragon. I think that's how you say his name, right?
Etrigan.
Etrigan.
It has to rhyme for Gone the form of man. Arise the demon. Etrigan. And then
seeing him in the mirror and him saying, I know a thing or two about curses, I was like, oh my god, I love that.
Subtle, I am not.
It was so good. It was so good. I was like, I was not expecting that. And it literally doesn't really have any impact on the story at all, besides the fact that like he's been a while. He's been alive for a long time. Like,
yeah.
It's just a nice little thing where I was like, that is fucking sick.
It's so cool. Like I fucking love it. It's just so cool. I'm a very big fan of Justice League Dark, and fucking whatchamacallit, Jason Blood appears in some of that, and I fucking love like those like little bits of like magic characters that kind of pop in here and there. And yeah, seeing that he's just super fucking old and he's been around since like the first Wayne, it's like, oh my god, that's so fucking cool.
Yeah. And in addition, you know, the big dramatic thing with Batman revealing who himself is and kind of giving himself up to the police and going to jail. But one of the huge things that we find out in the story is that technically Batman isn't a Wayne. Bruce isn't a true Wayne.
Right. Yes. Now, this was something that I was curious as to how you would react to that. Because as it turns out, Edmund Wayne was killed by Bakar, like the fucking one of the priest dudes in the beginning.
Dumas, yeah.
Yeah, one of the priests of Saint Dumas, and he takes up the Wayne mantle. So technically, the Waynes are descendants of Bakar, and the bastard of Edmund Wayne was taken by Jason Blood and hidden and changed his name or her name to Valley. So Jean-Paul is actually a Wayne, whereas Batman isn't. And when I first read this, I was a little confused. I was like, okay, I had to keep track of everything. I was like, okay, I think I
you need the flow chart to understand it.
Exactly, you need the genealogy chart or whatever. But I was like, okay, I guess I understand this now. And at first, I was pretty mad about that. I was like, wait, so your Batman isn't even a fucking Wayne? What the fuck? But then the more I thought about it, I was like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because
that's
all the characters are still the same. Like Martha, because I was thinking back to like the legacy of the Wayne family, where I'm like, Thomas and Martha Wayne, and then I'm like, oh no, they were still Thomas and they were still good people. Like they were still like the saviors.
And that's what Harley tells him. Like that's what I loved. Like my reaction was that at first too, being like, oh wow, this is kind of like shitty. I'm like, I'm not sure if I like this. And then Harley just kind of being like, Bruce, suck it up. Nobody gives a fuck, right? Who gives a shit? It's kind of like I don't know if it's similar, but like the whole like finding out you're adopted or something like that, right? Like
Right.
just because it's not blood like doesn't mean you can't own the name. And the Wayne name has been known about generosity and supporting of the Gotham City, and that's what Bruce has done his whole life, and he represents that name well. And that's basically what Harley says. And like again, Harley written so fucking well. Their dynamic is great, and Batman's like, you know what, Harley, you're fucking right. Let me go kick some ass.
Yeah, let me go kick some ass and do some awesome fucking sword fighting, which I love that they end this book with sword fighting. It's so cool. I love swords. They're awesome. Bleach is coming back 2022, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, you had to bring it up.
I had to bring it up. You know me, I had to. But yeah, I love the way he like takes down Azrael and like he gives into his dark temptation by slitting his throat. And then Azrael's like, I'm going to die. Yes, you're a monster, Bruce. And then Bruce is like, fuck you, no. And he stitches up his throat and then gives him a blood transfusion, which I actually found to be like kind of thematically interesting because the blood isn't backflowing into Bruce, but the blood of Wayne and Bakar have now mixed. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was something interesting. I don't know if anything is going to come of that, but it's just like, because, you know, Bakar killed Wayne in the past. Now, a descendant of Bakar is saving a descendant of Wayne. Like, he made the choice. He is different. And thematically, I'm just like, God damn, that's good. Batman is an awesome hero.
So, Joe, where does the end of Curse of the White Knight leave us?
And the Curse of the White Knight, Batman is taken into custody. He's put in jail. All of the other characters are just like, dude, we could so easily fucking break you out of here. You could break out of here. He's like, this is the right thing to do. I have to do this, okay? I made my choice. I'm going to deal with the consequences. But then he gets a little visit from another character. And this guy, it's like it's like his Green Beret. Is that the proper way to say it? Or that's like a specific...
That's a specific
thing, right?
Specific. He's in a military uniform.
He's in a military uniform, yes. And he comes in, shaved head and all, got a duffel bag on his back behind him, probably has motorcycle gear inside of it. Why? Because when we zoom in on his little name tag, it says Todd, obviously insinuating this is Jason Todd, the first Robin of this universe. And he's like, Bruce, why am I here? And he's like, I just wanted to talk to you. And that's it. That's the end of Curse of the White Knight. That's all you get from it. But obviously, he's probably going to stick around for a while because the first cover of Beyond the White Knight that we see has a Red Hood character on it. And that makes me very excited.
Yeah, I got nothing but good praises. The book ends so well, and then you telling me that Batman Beyond the White Knight is going to be the next one, like, oh, like I don't know if this is going to be like the third and final, or they're going to make this a whole big thing, but I mean, Murphy has he's got a lot of expectations with how well he did with these first two, and the fact that he's decided to tackle Beyond, which people in the past, like I said, have not had a good track record with. So I'm excited, I'm nervous, but Joe and I really just wanted to hop on here and just talk about how much we love this universe or this storyline, and really we just wanted to tell Sean Gordon Murphy that if he wants to leave Katana, it's okay. We're here. We will love him and support him in everything he does.
I was like, what the fuck you talking? I'm like, oh, right, his wife. Why would he want to leave his wife for us, Joe?
We're just... We're murphy-sluts.
Oh, no, I don't know about that one, Joe. I'm okay with calling myself a bleach slut, and then people who don't know think that I might be talking about the chemical and not the anime. But I don't know if I want to call myself a Murphy slut, because that's a person. And I don't know if I want to, if he ever, God forbid, gets wind of this podcast and he's just like, what the fuck?
I think he'll be flattered.
Here's hoping. Mr. Murphy, we're Murphy sluts from now on. All right. Do you have anything else you want to add to this show?
Only thing I have to say is that, Joe, we're coming up on 1 year of restarting the podcast.
Oh my god.
Yup.
Oh my god.
Big things for 2022, and when I say big things, I mean there's big things happening. There's Bleach, there's movies, there's anime. Oh god, there's so much. There's comics. We'll be here. we'll be doing stuff. It's going to be fun. 2022 is going to be a good year.
I completely concur. So, with all that being said, everyone, we hope you liked our little bit of banter here on Just Two Joes about White Knight and its sequel, Curse of the White Knight. We might be back to talk about Beyond the White Knight whenever that wraps up. I believe it's starting in March or April or some shit like that.
I think he said March. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So we'll be here to talk about that, hopefully when that wraps up. And then again, all the other shiznit coming out. You got Attack on Titan, you got Jujutsu Kaisen, you got Bleach. Ooh, baby, Chainsaw Man. I'm excited. So, with that being said, everybody, we love you, we'll leave you, and goodbye.